I stared at the refrigerator shelf, my name scrawled in permanent marker like a boundary drawn in battle. Elsie Bottom. My own daughter-in-law's handwriting. Neat, controlling, as if I were a house guest, not the woman who once rocked her child to sleep when she wouldn't get out of bed. From upstairs, I could hear my son shaving, humming like everything was normal. It wasn't. This wasn't a family fridge anymore. It was a partition. And the woman who used to feed everyone under this roof? She'd just become her own category. All right, before we dive into this crazy story, do me a favor. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. The sound of tape tearing was the first thing Linda heard that morning. Sharp, deliberate, like someone sealing a box for good. She stepped into the kitchen, her slippers silent against the tile, and froze. Every shelf in the refrigerator was covered with strips of masking tape, thick black letters written in a tidy, controlling hand. ER, do not touch. The light inside flickered over her leftover tea jar, now pushed to the very bottom, half hidden behind a carton of almond milk. For a second, Linda thought maybe it was a joke. Some quirky new organizing system Erica had seen on one of her YouTube channels. But then she saw the way the handwriting leaned forward. Assertive, impatient. Not a joke, a declaration. "Good morning," she said quietly, just to see what would happen. Erica appeared from the pantry, holding a basket and wearing that soft, fake smile expression she used when she was about to say something unkind, but wanted it to sound reasonable. "Oh, Linda, perfect timing." Her voice was sweetened, careful. "We're starting something new today. I've decided everyone will keep their own groceries. It'll help with boundaries." Linda blinked, her fingers still resting on the fridge door. Boundaries? Mm-hmm. Erica set the basket on the counter. "You know how things get mixed up. My oat milk, your regular milk, the whole cross-contamination thing. From now on, you'll have your own section, your own list, just to keep things fair." The word fair hung in the air like the faint smell of bleach. Linda glanced toward the hall. She could already hear her son upstairs, the muted sound of his razor and running water. She wanted him to come down now, not to defend her, just to see this. To see the careful cruelty of it. Instead, she looked back at Erica and nodded once. Okay. Erica's eyes flickered. She hadn't expected agreement. She'd prepared for pushback, for guilt or protest, something to let her feel magnanimous in victory. But Linda just stood there, calm and still as the kitchen clock ticking above the stove. "Well," Erica said after a moment. "Good. I'm glad we're on the same page." The refrigerator door closed with a soft suction sound. Linda felt it like a period at the end of a sentence she hadn't written. A few minutes later, Tyler shuffled down in his work shirt, tie half knotted. He smelled like aftershave and avoidance. "Morning, Mom. Morning, hun." Erica was already packing Becca's lunch. "Oh, Ty, tell your mom about the new grocery system. Isn't it great?" He looked from one woman to the other, blinking as if trying to gauge the temperature of the room before speaking. Sure. Whatever works best for everyone." Linda smiled faintly. "It's a fine idea, Tyler. Keeps things simple." He nodded in relief, poured himself coffee, and retreated into his phone. Erica turned back to the counter and lifted a plastic bin, a cheap one from the dollar aisle, the kind used for school supplies. Across the front, written in marker, were the letters, LC Bottom. She handed it to Linda like an offering she expected to be thanked for. "This'll be your basket. You can put your groceries in here. That way there's no confusion." Linda accepted it without a word, fingers brushing the rough edge of the label. She could feel the marker ink slightly raised under her thumb. "Perfect," she said softly. Erica paused, surprised again by the lack of resistance. "Well, good. I'll leave you to it then." The younger woman left the room humming under her breath. satisfied. Linda turned the basket over once in her hands, then placed it neatly on the bottom fridge shelf. She reached for her mug of half-finished tea, the one she'd made before all this began, and set it carefully inside, next to her jar of homemade peach jam. For a moment she stood there staring at that single mug behind the glass. It looked small, almost lost, surrounded by the labeled walls of someone else's domain. Then she closed the refrigerator door, the sound clicking into the quiet like a lock turning. Upstairs, Becca laughed. The bright, untroubled sound of a child who didn't yet understand invisible wars. Downstairs, Linda poured the last of the hot water into her cup, stirred in a spoon of honey, and took her seat at the kitchen table. The tape on the fridge caught a strip of sunlight and gleamed like a warning. She sipped her tea slowly, eyes calm but unblinking, the way a chess player studies the board before the first move. The automatic doors sighed open as Linda stepped into the grocery store. It was early, the hour when the lights still hummed louder than the customers and the air smelled faintly of bleach and bakery rolls. A few employees restocked shelves, their carts rattling softly in the quiet. She reached for a cart, the metal cold against her palms, and started down the first aisle with slow, deliberate steps. She used to shop like this when she and her husband were first married. Lists, coupons, careful math in her head. But today, she didn't need a list. She knew exactly what she was here for. Store brand, everything. Oatmeal, canned soup, crackers, peanut butter, tea bags. All the plain labeled, no-nonsense versions. She picked each item without hesitation, ignoring the bright-colored brands Erica preferred. The cart filled neatly, a muted palette of generics. A young clerk smiled politely as he passed her. "Big shopping day, ma'am?" "Just setting up my own shelves," Linda said. Her tone was light, but the words settled deep. When she reached the dairy aisle, she paused. Erica's oat milk sat in the fridge at home, labeled ER, do not touch. Linda looked at the price tags, the premium brand and the store label beside it, less than half the cost. She reached for the cheaper one and tucked it into her cart with quiet precision. At checkout, she packed her groceries herself, ignoring the cashier's offer of help. The bags were heavier than usual, but that felt right. Boundaries had weight. By the time she pulled into the driveway, the sun was climbing above the cul-de-sac roofs. Erica's car was gone, but the blinds in the living room twitched, a subtle reminder that she was always being noticed, even in absence. The garage air was cool, smelling faintly of motor oil and laundry detergent. The mini fridge hummed in the corner, the one Erica had once used for party leftovers. Now it was Linda's section. She unpacked slowly, methodically. Each jar, each carton went onto its shelf like a small declaration of independence. When she placed the last can of soup inside, she stepped back and looked at it. Plain, but hers. "Need help, Mom?" She turned. Tyler stood in the doorway, tie loosened, hands in pockets. His voice carried that uncertain, almost apologetic tone he used whenever Erica wasn't around. "I can carry the rest in for you," he offered. Linda shook her head, smiling faintly. "Don't worry, I don't want to cross lines." He winced slightly, but said nothing. Instead, he shifted awkwardly, eyes darting toward the kitchen door as if afraid someone might overhear him even here. "Okay, just let me know if you need anything, all right?" "I'm fine," she said. "Truly." He hesitated another beat, then nodded and disappeared inside. A moment later, soft footsteps echoed on the stairs. Becca appeared, still in her pajamas, hair messy from sleep. "Grandma," she whispered, glancing toward the house as though sharing a secret. "Mom said you're getting your own food now." Linda crouched to her level. "That's right. Grandma's got her own fridge now." The little girl frowned, puzzled. "But You still make grilled cheese, right? Linda smiled. Of course I do. Yours is better than Mom's, Becca said in a rush, covering her mouth after like it was a crime to say it. Linda chuckled softly. Then we'll just have to find a day, won't we? Becca nodded, her smile returning. She threw her arms around Linda's neck, quick and fierce, then scampered back upstairs before anyone could notice. For a long moment, Linda stayed there, crouched beside the hum of her small refrigerator, the warmth of that hug lingering like sunlight on her skin. She stood and brushed her hands against her jeans, surveying her little domain. Modest, orderly, deliberate. Every can and carton sat aligned, labels facing forward. It looked less like groceries and more like ammunition. That evening, as twilight fell through the garage window, Linda sat on the old folding chair beside her new fridge, sipping her tea. A moth beat against the light bulb above her, and from the kitchen window she could see Erica moving around, bright and busy in her spotless, labeled world. The hum of the garage fridge filled the silence between them, steady and low. Linda opened her notebook, the same one she used for recipes, and began writing down each item she'd bought, every dollar spent. She drew neat little boxes beside each entry, empty for now. When the list was complete, she tapped her pen once, thinking. Then, without looking up, she wrote a small note at the bottom of the page. Meal tax, starting today. She underlined it once, slow and firm, and closed the notebook. The church kitchen smelled like onions, cumin, and warmth, the kind of scent that wrapped itself around you like memory. Linda stirred the chili pot with an old wooden spoon, the handle darkened from years of use. Steam rose in fragrant curls, catching the morning light that spilled through the high stained glass windows. She moved with quiet purpose, the way she used to in the school cafeteria. Calm, efficient, invisible until someone took a bite and realized what she could do with simple ingredients. Noel Grant leaned against the counter beside her, arms crossed, smiling. You haven't lost your touch, she said. Half the volunteers came early just to ask if you were bringing your chili again. Linda smiled, eyes on the simmering pot. It's just beans and tomatoes, Noel. Beans and tomatoes that make grown men come back for seconds, Noel teased. They laughed, a soft, shared rhythm between old coworkers who'd weathered years of noisy lunchrooms and teenage chaos. Linda ladled a taste into a small paper cup and blew on it before sipping. Just right. A little smoky, a little sweet. The kind of flavor that stayed with you longer than you expected. By noon, the pantry event was in full swing. Folding tables lined with casseroles, breads, and slow cookers filled the hall. The hum of conversation and the scrape of chairs mixed with the faint sound of gospel music drifting from a small speaker near the stage. Linda's chili was gone in under an hour. People kept asking who'd made it, some even trying to hand her recipe cards. She smiled politely and said, It's just something I threw together. But inside, a quiet warmth bloomed. Not pride exactly, but a kind of relief. She still had value, even if no one at home seemed to think so. When she got back that afternoon, her shoes dusted with salt from the church steps, the house was already humming with the sound of dinner prep. Erica stood at the counter scrolling through her phone, while Tyler chopped vegetables, trying too hard to look useful. Becca sat at the table coloring, a glue stick rolling near her elbow. Hey, Mom, Tyler said without looking up. How was the thing at church? Linda placed her coat on the hook, her movements small and careful. It went fine. Erica's voice came sharp and sweet. I saw it on Facebook. Noel posted a whole album. Of course you made chili. People were tagging you like you're some kind of celebrity. Linda paused, then smiled gently. It's just food, Erica. Nothing special. Right, Erica said, too quickly. She went back to her phone, the tightness in her shoulders betraying the calm in her voice. Tyler's knife kept moving, steady but uneasy. No one spoke for a long moment. The only sound was the clock ticking and Becca's crayon scratching across paper. When dinner was finally served, Erica placed a store-bought salad bowl in the center of the table. "We're keeping it simple tonight," she said brightly, "trying to eat clean." Linda sat down with them but reached for nothing. "I already ate," she murmured. She hadn't, but no one noticed. Later that night, she carried her bowl of store-brand soup down to the basement, careful not to let the spoon clink against the ceramic. The chili pot was washed and drying by the pantry sink. But this was her portion. She sat at her small table near the laundry machines, steam fogging her glasses as she broke 2 crackers into the bowl. Upstairs, she could hear the faint echo of a TV sitcom laugh track, Erica's giggle layered over it like a counterfeit harmony. Linda ate slowly, listening to the hum of the dryer. The air smelled faintly of detergent and dust, not unpleasant, just lonely. When the bowl was empty, she wiped the table with a dishcloth and folded the evening paper beside her. A flyer slipped free, fluttering to the floor. She bent to pick it up. "Free legal aid for seniors. Boys Community Hall, Friday 10 a.m." Her thumb brushed over the bolded words. She didn't know why it made her heart tap harder against her ribs. Maybe because it felt like the world handing her a small, unexpected key. She reached for her pen, circled the flyer once and folded it neatly into her recipe notebook. Then she whispered, almost to herself, "Just in case." The calendar on the fridge read March 12th. Someone had circled it in pink marker and added a little heart. Erica's birthday. Linda stood at the counter pouring herself coffee when Erica breezed into the kitchen, hair in loose waves, phone in hand, humming some pop tune about being unbothered. "Oh, Linda," she said lightly, stopping at the counter as if she'd just remembered something. "About this weekend. Don't worry about baking anything for my birthday. We're ordering from the bakery this year." Linda's spoon clinked gently against her mug. "All right." Erica smiled, satisfied with how easily that had landed. "You've got so much going on with your pantry thing," she said, waving vaguely. "No reason to overextend yourself." Becca came skidding into the room in socks, a blur of 8-year-old energy. "Grandma, are you making the chocolate cake? The one with the icing that drips down the sides?" Erica's head snapped toward her daughter. "Sweetheart, we talked about this. Mommy's getting a bakery cake. It's simpler." Becca's face fell. "But Grandma's is better." The air went still. Even the refrigerator hum seemed to fade. Linda gave a small, calm smile. "It's okay, honey. I'll stay out of the way this year." Becca started to protest, but Erica cut in too quickly. "Exactly. Grandma's got her own things going now. We'll make it special, just the 3 of us." Linda sipped her coffee and said nothing. But in her chest, a slow heat began to stir. Not anger exactly, but something more deliberate. That afternoon, she walked to the church pantry carrying a box of donated produce. The hall smelled faintly of cinnamon and cleaner, sunlight spilling across the rows of tables. Noel was at the counter unpacking bread loaves when she looked up and smiled. "Well, if it isn't my culinary hero," she teased. "You here to show us all up again?" "Just dropping these off," Linda said. She hesitated a beat. "Though, I could use your kitchen for a bit, if that's all right." "Creative purposes." Noel arched an eyebrow. "Creative purposes, huh? That sounds intriguing. You know the rules. You bake it, you share it." Linda chuckled softly. "Not this one." "Secret recipe?" "Something like that." Noel laughed and tossed her the keys. "You always clean up better than anyone. Go for it." The pantry kitchen was quiet except for the steady hum of the industrial oven. Linda laid out her ingredients like old friends: cocoa powder, buttermilk, sugar, flour. She'd memorized the recipe years ago, though she still kept the handwritten card tucked in her apron pocket, edges softened from use. She mixed in silence, the rhythm of the whisk against the bowl slow and meditative. With each swirl, she felt the small sting of being dismissed that morning fade into something steadier. Focus, resolve. When she poured the batter into the 3 pans, the scent of chocolate filled the air, rich and comforting. The kind of smell that could pull people into a kitchen, draw them closer, make them remember who they used to be around a table. As the layers baked, Linda cleaned the counters, lined up her tools, and melted the frosting on the stove. Glossy, dark, and thick enough to coat the back of a spoon. She didn't hum or sigh or speak a word. The silence itself felt like a conversation between her and the cake, something unspoken but deeply understood. When the timer chimed, she pulled the layers out and set them on the rack to cool. The light from the window glowed across the tops, making them look almost like polished wood. Linda stacked them carefully, spread the icing slow and steady between each layer, letting it drip just enough down the sides. Her famous triple-layer chocolate. The cake everyone loved. The one Erica hadn't earned this year. When it was finished, she stepped back and studied it. Simple, elegant, unapologetically homemade. For a fleeting moment, she imagined Becca's face lighting up, imagined the room quieting as that first slice revealed the dense, perfect crumb. But she shook the thought away. This one wasn't for them. She covered it with foil, labeled the box Community Pantry, Private Event, and slid it into the pantry freezer. As she wiped down the counters, Noel poked her head back in. "Everything good?" Linda smiled. "Everything's perfect?" Noel glanced at the foil-covered box, curious but didn't ask. "Well, I'll be here Saturday if you need me." "Saturday," Linda repeated softly. "Right." She washed her hands, dried them with a towel, and stood for a moment at the sink, staring out the small window toward the churchyard. Snow flurries had begun to drift down, faint as powdered sugar. She thought about Erica's perfect bakery cake, all frosting and no soul, and then about her own creation cooling quietly behind her. Her version of peace, her kind of preparation. The Boise Community Hall was smaller than Linda expected. All beige walls and folding chairs, the kind of place where the air still carried the scent of last night's bingo game. A banner near the podium read, "Free legal aid for seniors. Know your rights." Linda sat near the back, notebook open, pen poised. Around her, a few other retirees murmured quietly. A man in a veteran's cap, 2 women whispering about Medicare, someone unwrapping a peppermint. The normal hum of small worries. But Linda wasn't here about a prescription or a landlord. She was here about a refrigerator label. A woman at the front, mid-50s, calm eyes behind square glasses, took the microphone. "My name's Maya Littleton," she said, "paralegal with the Idaho Legal Aid Office. We help folks who've been, let's say, overlooked in their own homes." Linda looked up. Something in Maya's voice, steady but edged with quiet steel, made her sit a little straighter. The presentation covered elder tenancy, informal caregiving arrangements, and domestic contribution laws. Words Linda didn't think applied to her until Maya said, "If you live with family, perform childcare, cook meals, clean, or assist with household tasks, you are providing measurable economic value. You're not a guest. You're a contributor." Linda's pen stopped. Contributor. The word pulsed on the page like a heartbeat. After the seminar, Linda waited while others trickled out. Maya was packing her notes into a leather bag when Linda approached. "Excuse me," she said softly. "I think I might be one of those overlooked." Maya smiled, not kindly, but knowingly. "Tell me about it." They sat across from each other in a small meeting room, fluorescent light humming overhead. Linda told her everything. The labels on the fridge, the boundaries, the chores, the unspoken debt of living quietly in her son's house while doing everything that kept it running. Maya didn't interrupt. She just listened, jotting notes in her own tight handwriting. When Linda finished, Maya leaned back and tapped her pen against the table. "You're not powerless, Mrs. Carson. You're what we call an unpaid domestic contributor. That means, legally, you provide value, rent equivalent, through your work. You cook, clean, and provide childcare. That's rent in kind." Linda blinked, unsure she'd heard right. "You mean I pay rent by existing?" "By working," Maya corrected. "By being the invisible infrastructure of their household. If they were paying for those services, you'd be owed a wage. You have rights, especially if that arrangement is being used to control you." Linda's pulse quickened. "What kind of rights?" Maya flipped open her folder. "We can draft an affidavit of contribution. It's a statement of value, lists your labor, your hours, your economic worth in that home. If you ever need to challenge how you're treated, this document establishes your footing. Arbitration, mediation, even family court if it came to that." She pushed a blank form across the table. "Start writing down everything: dishes, laundry, grocery runs, school pickups, meals, even emotional support counts." Linda looked at the page. The columns were neat: date, task, hours, estimated value. "I can do that," she said quietly. "I know you can," Maya said, gathering her papers. "People like your daughter-in-law forget that housework is currency until you stop paying." That night, Linda sat at her small basement table with her notebook open, the same one she used for recipes, now reborn as evidence. She wrote the first line slowly. Monday, breakfast for Becca before school, 30 minutes. Laundry load X3, folded, 2 hours. Groceries unloaded, fridge restocked, 1 hour. She paused, then added another. Used own milk and butter for family dinner, unlabeled. 0.5-hour prep. A faint smile tugged at her lips. Meal tax, she thought. The next day, the list grew longer. Vacuuming, errands, driving Becca to choir practice, the unseen, unthanked things. She noted each with care, her handwriting steady and deliberate. When she went to put her tea in the fridge, she noticed a half-empty container of her own peanut butter on the family shelf. Someone, Erica, had clearly borrowed it. Linda opened her notebook again. Unauthorized grocery use, 1 jar, $3.29. 2 days before the party, Becca patted downstairs while Linda was sorting laundry. She perched on the edge of the dryer, feet swinging. "Grandma," she said softly, "I don't think I'm excited about Mom's birthday anymore." Linda looked up. "Why not, sweetheart?" Becca shrugged. "She's been mean. And she keeps saying nobody needs your food. But everyone at church likes your food." "That's not fair." Linda folded a towel and handed it to her. "You don't have to worry about fair. You just have to remember who you are." Becca's eyes flickered with confusion, but she smiled and nodded. The following afternoon, Noel stopped by the pantry while Linda was sorting donations. She watched her friend write in the notebook, eyebrows lifting. "What's all that?" Noel asked. "Documentation," Linda said simply. "Apparently, I'm more valuable than I thought." Noel grinned. "Well, that's no surprise to me. Some people just don't realize what they have until it stops serving them." Linda's pen hovered above the page. She met Noel's gaze and said, almost to herself, "Then maybe it's time to stop serving." The first few days, the clipboard drew no attention. It was small, brown, unassuming, the kind a substitute teacher might use for roll call. Linda carried it tucked under one arm, her pen always clipped neatly to the top. At breakfast, while the coffee dripped and Erica's almond milk frothed in its separate container, Linda quietly logged her hours. Unload dishwasher, 12 minutes. Wipe counters, 8 minutes. Prep Becca's lunch. Requested PB&J, Grandma's Jam, 10 minutes. It became a rhythm. Her private music. Every motion, every kindness measured and recorded. The sound of pen on paper steadied her in a way nothing else had in years. By the fourth morning, even Becca started whispering, "You forgot to write down helping me find my shoes." Linda smiled. "You're right, that's a 5-minute service." Becca giggled, but her eyes gleamed with the conspiratorial spark of someone who understood this wasn't really about shoes. It was Erica who noticed first. Linda was kneeling in the hallway dusting baseboards when Erica stopped mid-step. "What's that?" she asked, nodding toward the clipboard. Linda didn't look up. "Just something for my records." "Records of what?" "Household contributions." Erica blinked, thrown by the phrasing. "You mean chores?" "Tasks," Linda corrected softly. "They have value." Erica laughed once, a quick, sharp sound. "Oh, for heaven's sake, you don't have to make this bureaucratic. Nobody's keeping score." Linda rose slowly, her back straight. "No," she said. Nobody was. For a moment, Erica seemed ready to fire back, but something in Linda's expression, calm, deliberate, unreadable, made her stop. She brushed invisible lint off her blouse and walked away, muttering, "Unbelievable." The pen moved again before the sound of her footsteps even faded. Interaction with family member. Emotional labor. 5 minutes. Tyler caught her later that evening. He'd just come home, jacket half off, exhaustion hanging from his shoulders. Linda was in the kitchen recording her last entry for the day. Dinner cleanup, 2 plates, 1 wineglass, 1 cereal bowl. 15 minutes. "Mom," he said carefully, glancing at the clipboard. "What's this thing Erica's talking about? You're keeping logs?" "Yes." He rubbed the back of his neck, unsure how to proceed. "Are you okay?" Linda smiled faintly. "Of course. I'm keeping to my section, like she asked." He frowned, sensing more in the words than the tone allowed. It feels kind of formal, that's all." "Formality keeps misunderstandings clear," Linda said. "Boundaries need paper sometimes." Tyler sighed, defeated. "If this makes things easier—" "It does," she said. "Much easier." When he left the room, she added one more line. "Conversation with son. Clarification of boundaries. 10 minutes." On Thursday, Noel met her at the pantry, where Linda spread the clipboard and notebook across a folding table. Columns filled with tiny handwriting, dates, dollar values. Noel whistled low. "You weren't kidding. This looks like payroll." "In a way, it is." Noel squinted at one line. "Meal prep, 3 hours, $75 value." "You're pricing your own time?" "Market rate," Linda said. Maya sent a guide. Average domestic labor pay for this county is $25 an hour. Fair, I think. Noel laughed softly. "Oh, honey, this is a revolution in ink and margins." Linda's pen paused over the next line. She didn't look up when she said, "I call it my meal tax. If I'm expected to feed them without belonging to them, I'll just calculate the cost of my silence." "Meal tax," Noel repeated, grinning. "You always had a way with words." That evening, Linda set the clipboard on the basement table beside her mug of tea. The pages fluttered slightly from the vent's warm air. It was getting thicker by the day. Proof, line by line, that her existence carried measurable weight. She flipped back through the earlier entries and noticed something. The more she wrote, the less invisible she felt. Each recorded task was a reclaiming, one quiet act of defiance written in neat cursive. Upstairs, the faint sound of laughter floated down. Erica's friends, maybe. The party planning. The perfect birthday weekend she'd barred Linda from. Linda turned the page, wrote the date, and drew a small straight line beneath it. Friday, no tasks performed. Reason: observing boundaries. The simplicity of it made her smile. The Monday after the meal tax note appeared on the fridge, Linda woke before dawn as usual. But for the first time in months, she didn't iron Becca's school shirt. She didn't pack her lunch. She didn't start the car at 7:15 to wait in the driveway like clockwork. Instead, she sat at the small table in the basement, sipping her tea and marking the hour neatly on her clipboard. Morning labor withheld. Childcare, transport, preparation. 1.5 hours. Upstairs, footsteps thundered. Drawers slammed. "Tyler!" Erica's voice rang through the floorboards. "Did you know your mom didn't take Becca? It's 7:30. A pause, then a muffled, "She didn't say anything to me." Linda turned a page in her notebook, unhurried. By the time she climbed upstairs, Becca was standing at the kitchen island with her backpack half-zipped, eyes wide with confusion. Erica's hair was pulled up messily, her irritation barely contained. "Linda," she said sharply, "you always do school drop-offs. Why didn't you?" Linda set her teacup in the sink. "Oh, I assumed that wasn't part of my shelf." Erica blinked. "Your what?" "My shelf," Linda said gently, as though explaining something to a child. "Since I have my own food, my own section, I figured my duties had their own boundaries too. I didn't want to cross lines." Erica stared, color rising in her cheeks. "This isn't about shelves. You can't just stop helping?" "I can," Linda said softly, "if it's not mutually agreed upon." Tyler appeared, tie still crooked, eyes darting between them. "Mom, it's fine. I'll take her. Just next time, maybe tell us?" "Of course," Linda said with perfect calm. "Next time there's an adjustment to expectations, I'll make sure it's properly logged." Erica let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "You've lost it." Linda smiled, not unkindly. "No, dear. I've simply found balance." Becca's small voice broke the silence. "Grandma, can you still pick me up after school?" Linda crouched to meet her eyes. "Not today, sweetheart. Ask your mom." Becca frowned. "But Mom's always late." Erica inhaled sharply, but Linda rose before she could respond. She picked up her clipboard from the counter and walked downstairs without another word. That afternoon, Becca's teacher called the house. Erica answered, her tone changing quickly from defensive to mortified. "Yes, of course. I understand. It won't happen again." When she hung up, her expression was pure venom. "She was late, Linda. Becca had to wait in the office for 30 minutes. 30 minutes!" Linda looked up from her notebook. Pen paused mid-line. "I see. That's all you have to say?" "I logged my part this morning," Linda said simply. "School transportation is a separate responsibility. I no longer handle that task." Erica slammed her hands on the counter. "You're doing this to make me look bad." Linda's gaze remained steady. "You're doing that all on your own." For a moment, the room went still. Even the clock seemed to hold its breath. Then Erica stormed out, muttering something about ungrateful freeloaders. When the door slammed, Linda wrote quietly at the bottom of the page, "Emotional disturbance during renegotiation of labor, 0.25 HR." The next day, Tyler approached her while she was folding towels in the laundry room. He looked uneasy, voice low. "Erica's just stressed, Mom. The party, the work, Becca's schedule. It's a lot. Maybe give her some slack?" Linda folded the last towel neatly. "I have. More than she'll ever realize. Maybe just talk to her?" She shook her head. "No, Tyler. I've done enough talking for people who weren't listening." He sighed, rubbed the bridge of his nose, and left the room. Linda wrote another note in the margin of her log. Withheld dialogue. Emotional labor avoided. 0.5 HR saved. Later that week, she met Maya again at the legal aid office. The woman flipped through the updated affidavit, her eyes scanning the pages like a lawyer preparing for trial. "You've been busy," Maya said approvingly. "This level of detail, very strong documentation. I'll add a line item. Withheld labor and services. It quantifies the value of what you've stopped providing." Linda smiled faintly. "So silence counts too?" Maya looked up. "When silence has cost, yes. And it looks like yours finally does." That night, Linda sat by her basement window, watching the reflection of the upstairs lights shimmer faintly across the glass. Voices drifted down. Erica and Tyler arguing in hushed tones. Linda didn't listen. She didn't need to. She opened her notebook, checked the final box for the day, and set her pen down beside it. Her hands were steady. Her tea was warm. For the first time in a long while, her page was perfectly balanced, every minute accounted for, every word she'd swallowed finally worth something. The storm began before sunrise, not outside but inside the Carson house. Heavy footsteps above, a slamming drawer, a door opening hard enough to rattle the hinges. Then came the voice, sharp, controlled in the way only panic can be controlled. "Linda." Linda looked up from her basement table where her clipboard sat beside a cooling mug of tea. She'd been filling in the morning's line item: household atmosphere, high tension, duration, ongoing. Erica appeared in the doorway, one hand gripping the frame. Her cheeks were flushed, her phone clutched like a weapon. "Did you call the bakery?" she demanded. Linda blinked. "Excuse me?" "Don't play dumb. The order's gone. They called to confirm a cancellation. My cake, my birthday cake, is not coming." Linda took a slow sip of her tea. "I didn't call the bakery." Erica's laugh came out brittle. "Then who did?" "I wouldn't know," Linda said. "But I did hear the pantry kitchen's open today." The words landed soft, almost kind, but the meaning struck like a match. Erica's jaw tightened. "You think this is funny? You think sabotaging my birthday is some kind of game?" "I don't play games," Linda said, standing. "I just follow boundaries." For a heartbeat, neither spoke. The basement light buzzed faintly overhead. Erica's glare flicked to the clipboard, to the tidy rows of handwriting that had begun to fill every page. "You and that stupid list," she hissed. "Do you write down how much joy you suck out of this house too?" Linda's expression didn't change. "Not yet," she said. "But thank you for the suggestion." Tyler appeared behind Erica, his face tight with exhaustion. Okay, let's all calm down. It's a mix-up. We'll figure it out." Erica spun toward him. "You don't get it, Ty. The party's tonight. 30 people. The cake was the centerpiece." He rubbed his temples. "I'll call them. Maybe it's not just anything." Erica snapped. "This is her. She's been waiting for this." Linda folded her hands neatly on the table. "You're overestimating my interest in your frosting logistics." Tyler turned to her, his voice low but urgent. "Mom, please. Just this once. Help out. You've got the touch. You could make something. I'll buy all the ingredients. Just, please." Linda's eyes lifted to his. There was no anger in her voice when she said, "Just this once? You mean like I've been doing for the last year?" He opened his mouth, but no words came. Erica's phone buzzed. She looked down, hope flashing across her face, then fading instantly. Another text left unread. She started typing again, fingers flying, muttering under her breath. "Where are these people? Everyone said they'd help. I just need one person to—" Another buzz. Another silence. No one was answering. Linda stepped past them and moved toward the stairs, calm and steady. "I'm going to the pantry," she said. "They always appreciate extra help." Erica followed her a few steps. "Don't you dare." Linda paused on the middle stair, hand resting on the banister. "You should check your phone again," she said without looking back. People tend to mirror what they see. Erica frowned. What's that supposed to mean? But Linda was already walking away. Upstairs, the house felt colder somehow, too quiet. Tyler sat at the table, staring at his phone as Erica paced behind him. The sunlight through the window struck the untouched bakery plates stacked neatly on the counter. Everyone's busy, she said, voice rising. The bakery's phone line went straight to voicemail. My friends aren't responding. Noel isn't answering either. She probably heard from her. Tyler exhaled slowly. Maybe it's not the end of the world. We can grab cupcakes from Safeway. Stop minimizing. Erica's voice cracked. Everything keeps falling apart and you don't even care. He didn't reply. He just stared at the clock, its ticking filling the silence. In the basement, the mini fridge hummed softly. Inside, behind neatly labeled containers, a foil-covered box rested on the middle shelf. The air smelled faintly of cocoa and something richer, like memory waiting its turn. On the table, Linda's clipboard lay open to a fresh page. She picked up her pen and wrote, "Inquiry received regarding bakery cancellation. Emotional outburst noted. Labor contribution declined." Then, after a pause, she added one more line. Predicted outcome. Hunger for humility. By 6 o'clock, the house smelled like expensive candles and stress. Erica had been fluttering from room to room all afternoon, refolding napkins, straightening cutlery, and forcing smiles that never quite reached her eyes. Every time the doorbell rang, she stiffened, half hoping, half dreading that someone might bring up the cake. Linda stayed mostly downstairs, the thrum of conversation filtering faintly through the ceiling. She could tell from the laughter which guests had arrived. The church ladies, a few of Tyler's co-workers, Erica's book club women with their clinking bracelets and brittle cheer. From the basement window, Linda saw the silhouettes moving past. High heels, pastel dresses, wine glasses flashing in the light. Her clipboard sat closed tonight. No logging, no tallying, just waiting. Upstairs, the party had reached its comfortable chaos. Music hummed low, plates clinked, and the living room table groaned under appetizers and salads. Erica floated between clusters of guests, her voice syrupy with practiced warmth. Thank you, yes. The bakery had a small hiccup, but we're improvising. Cupcakes later, maybe. But every few minutes someone would ask, inevitably, did your MIL make her triple layer again? Erica laughed too loudly each time. Oh no, she didn't offer this year. She's been busy. Busy. The word came out brittle, the consonant catching on her tongue. Tyler hovered by the buffet, filling glasses, avoiding her eyes. Becca sat near the stairs, bored, picking at her bracelet. When one of the church ladies, Mrs. Waller, patted Erica's arm and said, "Such a shame. Linda's cakes always made the whole room smell like heaven." Something in Erica's smile twitched. "She's taking a break from the kitchen these days," she said tightly. "Boundaries, you know?" Mrs. Waller chuckled. Well, bless her heart. Every woman needs a little space. Erica nodded once, jaw locked. In the basement, Linda could hear the laughter thinning, replaced by the softer buzz of small talk. She glanced toward the fridge, where the foil-covered box still sat. The triple layer, perfect, unclaimed. She hadn't planned to bring it out. That had been her quiet victory, to let absence speak. But then, she heard a knock on the basement door. "Grandma?" Becca's small face peeked through the crack. "Come in, sweetheart," Linda said gently. Becca crept down the stairs, still wearing her party dress, the hem dotted with crumbs. "Mom's upset," she whispered. "People keep asking about your cake." Linda smiled softly. "That's her concern, not mine." "I know," Becca said, biting her lip. "But it's my favorite, and they all want some. Can't you just bring it out? For me?" Her voice was barely a whisper, but it landed like a plea that cut straight through every defense Linda had built. She studied her granddaughter's face, the sincerity, the hope. Becca had never been part of the war upstairs. She just missed her grandma's chocolate frosting. Linda brushed a hand across Becca's hair. "All right," she said quietly. "For you." When they reached the kitchen, the chatter dipped for a moment, a ripple through the crowd. People turned as Linda appeared, carrying the cake in both hands, the foil gleaming under the pendant light. Erica froze mid-sentence, her smile faltering. "Oh," she said, voice too bright. "You baked." "I did," Linda replied calmly. "I thought someone might want a taste of something homemade." Becca clapped her hands once, grinning. "Grandma brought the real cake." The guests began murmuring, delighted, nostalgic. Mrs. Waller exclaimed, "The triple layer! Lord, I remember this from the potluck." Phones came out, cameras clicking as Linda set the cake gently on the counter. She peeled back the foil, revealing the dark, glossy frosting catching the warm kitchen light. It looked decadent, almost regal. Simple, but commanding every eye in the room. Someone gasped. Someone else said, "Now that's a birthday cake." The applause started softly, 2 or 3 people, then grew. Laughter, genuine and light, filled the room. Even Tyler cracked a smile. Erica stood motionless, wineglass trembling in her hand. "You didn't have to do this," she managed, voice thin. "I know," Linda said, her tone even. "That's what makes it a gift." Becca tugged Linda's hand. "Can I cut the first slice?" Linda nodded. "Go ahead, sweetheart." The knife slid clean through the first layer. The smell of cocoa filled the air, rich and familiar. The room sighed in unison, a sound closer to reverence than appetite. Becca handed the first plate to her mother. "Happy birthday, Mom." Erica took it slowly. Her eyes glistened, the muscles in her face trembling as if she were holding something in. Shame, gratitude, anger. It was hard to tell. For a moment, she looked like a woman remembering who'd actually built the foundation beneath her perfect life. Linda leaned against the counter, sipping water while guests swarmed the dessert table. Compliments floated through the air like confetti. "Best cake she's ever made." "Better than that bakery nonsense." "She could open a shop." Erica forced herself to nod and smile, but her eyes stayed wet, rimmed with humiliation. When the laughter swelled again, she turned toward Linda and whispered through clenched teeth, "You've made your point." Linda smiled faintly. "No, dear," she said. "You just finally noticed it." By Monday, the echoes of the party were still hanging in the air. Half-empty wine glasses, glittering confetti trapped under chair legs, the faint scent of chocolate that no candle could mask. Erica moved through the kitchen like someone tiptoeing through her own wreckage. The cake dish sat empty in the sink, just a smear of frosting left along the edge. Her phone buzzed. Another notification. Another photo from the party shared online. There she was, frozen mid-smile beside Linda and Becca, the triple-layer cake gleaming between them like a crown she hadn't earned. The comments piled up beneath it. "No one bakes like Linda Carson." "Look at that masterpiece. She should teach classes." Not one mentioned Erica. By Tuesday morning, the story had begun its quiet migration, from the Facebook thread to the sidewalks, to the coffee line at the church, to the parent pickup lane at Becca's school. People didn't say it outright, but their tone carried the message clearly enough. "Heard things got a little tense at Erica's party. Can you imagine banning your own Emil from the kitchen? That woman's got more grace than I would have had." At the grocery store, Erica caught 2 of the neighborhood moms glancing her way, whispering near the produce section. One offered a polite smile, the other didn't even bother. She abandoned her cart mid-aisle and left without buying a thing. Meanwhile, the church ladies turned the story into gospel. At the next potluck, Linda's chili and cornbread took the center table, and the comments came in soft, reverent tones, like hymns. "God doesn't sleep on dignity," murmured Mrs. Waller, ladling herself a second bowl. "He saw how that woman was treated, and he balanced the scales." Another nodded. "The Lord may be slow, but he sure ain't late." Linda just smiled faintly and passed the butter. "I'm just grateful to still have a place to cook." At home, the fallout deepened in quieter ways. Erica stopped hosting gatherings. Invitations to brunches and school fundraisers stopped coming. Her group chat, once buzzing, had gone still. Even her mother, when she called from Oregon, asked gently, "Honey, why does everyone online seem to be talking about your mother-in-law?" Erica had no answer. She just said she was taking a break from people. Tyler noticed the silence, but not enough to confront it. Most evenings he came home late, loosened his tie, and scrolled his phone through dinner. If Linda's name popped up in conversation, he changed the subject. It was a relief, in a way, conflict replaced by apathy. But it left the house hollow. One night, Linda came upstairs to grab her mail from the kitchen counter. She found Erica standing at the sink, staring out the window. "You've got a lot of admirers lately," Erica said, her voice thin and trembling. "People think you're some kind of saint." Linda didn't rise to it. "People see what they're shown." Erica turned sharply. "You think this is funny? That everyone's pitying me?" "No," Linda said softly. "I think it's fair." She took her letters and walked back toward the basement. Erica stayed frozen at the sink, gripping the counter until her knuckles went white. That Friday, Becca wandered downstairs with a tray balanced carefully in her small hands, a sandwich, apple slices, and 2 juice boxes. "Dinner guest?" Linda teased gently. Becca nodded. "Mom's upstairs on her phone. Dad's not home yet. Can I eat with you?" Linda hesitated only a second before pulling out a chair. "Of course, sweetheart." They ate quietly at the little folding table beside the mini fridge. Becca swung her legs under the chair and said between bites, "Your food just tastes like home. Mom's food tastes like store." Linda smiled. "That's because mine's made to stay." After dinner, they played cards on the table, Becca giggling whenever she won a hand. When it was time to go back upstairs, she lingered at the door. "Grandma." "Yes, dear." "Can I eat dinner down here again tomorrow?" Linda set down her cards, her smile tender but sad. "We'll see." By mid-April, the basement smelled like comfort. Linda had signed up for the church's new senior meal program, 3 dinners a week, cooked and delivered to homebound congregants. What started as a simple volunteer task quickly became something more: a rhythm, a purpose, a quiet reclamation. The folding table that once held her clipboard now gleamed with order. Casseroles cooling in neat aluminum trays, rolls rising beneath clean dish towels. Pots of stew lined like a small army waiting for dispatch. Steam clouded the small window, and the scent of butter and rosemary lingered in the air long after each batch was done. Upstairs, Erica noticed. The first time, she came halfway down the basement stairs before stopping mid-step, wrinkling her nose. "What is that smell?" "Pot roast," Linda said mildly, without looking up. "For the church seniors." Erica hesitated, hand on the rail. "You're turning the house into a cafeteria." "Not at all," Linda replied. "Just the basement." The answer landed sharp but calm. Erica said nothing more, just turned and stomped back upstairs, muttering something about boundaries. Minutes later, a door slammed. The scent of rosemary kept rising anyway. By the following week, the aroma had drifted farther. Through the vents, across the driveway. Into the neighborhood. Mrs. Cleary from next door stopped Linda at the mailbox. "Whatever you're making, honey, it smells divine. You selling plates now?" Linda laughed softly. just giving them away. Well, Mrs. Cleary said, pressing a hand to her chest, you let me know if you ever start charging. I'd pay double before I buy that chain restaurant slop again. Word spread fast, as smells often do. 2 other neighbors stopped by that week, just to check in, each leaving with a foil-wrapped plate and gratitude that felt both genuine and contagious. The small, quiet act of feeding people, freely, joyfully, seemed to undo the bitterness that had hung around the house for months, almost. On Thursday, Noel came by to help with deliveries. She stepped into the basement, sniffed the air, and grinned. Smells like redemption down here. Linda smiled. It's nice having a reason to cook again. Noel ran a finger along one of the foil trays. You know, if you ever wanted to scale this up, I could help you rent a kitchen. There's that old space behind the bakery. I still know the landlord. We could get you licensed. Real business? Linda shook her head gently. Oh, I'm not cooking for survival, Noel. I'm cooking for joy. Noel studied her, then nodded slowly. That's even better. They loaded the trays into Noel's car, laughing as the trunk filled with the scent of cornbread and thyme. As they pulled away, Linda felt something in her chest unclench, a piece she hadn't known she'd missed. But not everyone shared in it. That evening, as she came in from her deliveries, Linda heard muffled voices upstairs. Erica and Tyler again. The words weren't clear, but the tone was weary, defensive. She set her coat down quietly and listened just long enough to catch Erica's strained whisper. She's getting attention again, even from the neighbors. It's humiliating. Then Tyler's tired reply. She's not hurting anyone, Erica. Let it go. Linda smiled faintly and went back downstairs. The next morning, she received a call from Maya. Your affidavit's looking solid, Maya said. But I think it's time we revisit the living arrangement. You've documented months of contribution and withheld labor. That house stands on your shoulders, legally and otherwise. Linda stirred her coffee, staring at the steam curling upward. And if I move those shoulders? Then they'll finally see what they're standing on, Maya said. Linda didn't answer right away. She looked around her little basement, the fridge humming, the trays lined up, the soft smell of cinnamon rolls cooling on the counter. Her domain, her quiet empire. I'll think about it, she said finally. That evening, while Linda wiped down the counters, the sound of laughter drifted through the vents. Not Erica's brittle kind, but Becca's. Grandma's dinners smell better than birthday cake, the little girl said. Linda paused, listening, then smiled. Small but certain. The envelope was waiting on the kitchen island when Linda came upstairs. No postage, no return address, just her name written in Erica's tight, looping script. She set down her keys and stared at it for a long moment. The house was unusually quiet. Even the refrigerator seemed to hum softer, like it was holding its breath. She tore the envelope open carefully. Not out of fear, but curiosity. Inside was a single page printed in large font, House Rules, effective immediately. The list was short and self-righteous. All cooking activities must be approved in advance. No use of shared appliances, oven, washer, etc., without consent. Guests and deliveries limited to your personal section. Quiet hours in effect after 7 p.m., basement refrigerator subject to inspection. At the bottom, in a smaller font, was the kicker. Failure to comply may result in termination of living arrangement. No signature, no date. Just a woman trying to play queen in a house that someone else kept standing. Linda read it twice, folded it neatly, and placed it back in the envelope. Then she went downstairs. The next morning, she laid the paper on Maya's desk at the legal aid office. Maya glanced at it once, then burst out laughing. Oh, for God's sake, this isn't even formatted correctly. Linda raised an eyebrow. You're saying it's not binding? Not legally, not ethically, not even grammatically, Maya said, flipping it over as if checking for invisible ink. But keep it. Every bad decision deserves a paper trail. Linda smiled. So what now? We file your counterclaim, Maya said. Breach of contribution agreement. You've logged hundreds of hours of unpaid domestic labor. That's compensable value. And now they're trying to restrict your access to the same resources your labor maintained? No judge would ignore that. Linda ran a finger along the paper's edge. Then let's not ignore it either. By the time she got home that afternoon, Tyler was already waiting at the dining table. His tie was loose, sleeves rolled up, eyes tired. "Mom," he began, voice heavy with caution, "we all just need to take a breath, okay? Erica didn't mean for that to sound harsh." Linda set her purse down beside her and sat. "She meant every word." He sighed. "You know how she gets when she feels cornered. She's under pressure. The gossip, the church, the neighbors." "Those aren't my doing," Linda said softly. "I know," he said, rubbing his temples. "But can we not make this worse? Maybe you could just agree to some space for a while?" Linda folded her hands on the table. "Tyler, I've respected her boundaries longer than she's respected my existence. I've done the work, I've logged the hours, and I've kept silent through every insult in that arrangement. But I'm done pretending this roof belongs to just one woman." He flinched like she'd struck him, though her tone hadn't changed. "Mom, please," he whispered. "Don't take this to court. Don't make it public." Linda stood, her chair scraping gently against the tile. "I'm not making anything public. She already did that when she made me invisible." That night, Becca came downstairs with tearful eyes and a stuffed bunny clutched to her chest. "Grandma, Mom said you might move out." Linda crouched to her level, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "I might move my groceries, yes." "That's not what I mean," Becca said, voice cracking. "I mean you. Don't go." Linda's throat tightened, but her voice stayed even. "Wherever I am, sweetheart, you'll always have a place to eat and be loved. That doesn't change." Becca hugged her fiercely, the kind of hug that felt like it came from both their hearts. When the little girl finally went upstairs, Linda stood in the quiet for a long moment, then opened a cardboard box and began to pack. Canned goods, tea, her labeled shelf items, but not her photographs, not her clothes, not her life. Those stayed right where they were. By morning, the box sat sealed by the basement door, small but full. A symbol, not a surrender. She tucked the house rules notice inside, along with a copy of her affidavit. On the top, she placed a yellow post-it note in her neat handwriting, "Counterfile, see attached." It arrived on a Wednesday morning, sealed in cream-colored cardstock and stamped with the small blue insignia of the Boise Legal Aid Office. Erica found it first. She stood by the front door, robe cinched tight, coffee forgotten on the counter as she stared at the envelope like it might detonate. "Tyler," she called, her voice cracking. "There's a letter here. From that legal woman? Maya something." Tyler appeared from the hallway, still buttoning his shirt. "Mom's paralegal?" Erica's expression was pure disbelief. "She actually filed something." He reached for the envelope, but she snatched it back. "I'm not opening it. You open it." Tyler sighed, tore it open carefully, and unfolded the crisp letter. The paper was thick, professional, precise. He scanned the first lines aloud, his voice thinning as he went. "Pursuant to Idaho Domestic Contribution Statutes, Carv 32904, Ms. Linda Carson's documented labor, services, and material contributions to the Carson household constitute equitable value under state property law. Based on verified logs and witness statements, the following valuation is submitted for mediation consideration." Below, in clean bullet points, was the breakdown. Meal preparation, daily and event-based. 684 hours, $1,700 in childcare. School pickups, after-hours care. 240 hours, $6,000 household maintenance and errands. $3,200 groceries and supplies paid personally. $2,150 emotional damages, recommended Goodwill settlement. $2,000 on total claim, $3,750. Tyler's voice faltered. My God. Erica snatched the letter back, eyes scanning the total as her mouth went dry. She's suing us. Tyler shook his head, still stunned. It says for mediation, not court, but still. Erica slammed the letter onto the counter, the sound sharp as glass. This is insane. She's lost her mind. A soft voice answered from the hallway. No, Linda said. I've found my worth. She stood in the doorway, calm as always, one hand resting lightly on the frame. She looked neither triumphant nor cruel, just resolute. Erica's face flushed red. You filed this? I did, Linda said evenly. Every number's true. Maya just helped me put it into language the law understands. Tyler ran a hand through his hair, staring at the document like it might rearrange itself into something less catastrophic. Mom, this isn't right. You can't put a price tag on family. Linda stepped forward, eyes steady on her son's. No, Tyler, I didn't. She did. Every rule, every label, every list of what was hers and what wasn't. She put a price on it. I just kept the receipts. Erica grabbed the paper again, voice trembling. You're humiliating us. What will people think if this gets out? Probably that you should have been more careful about who you tried to erase, Linda said softly. For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the refrigerator humming, the same one that had once carried their war in taped labels and shelf divisions. Tyler finally exhaled, his shoulders slumping. Mom, please, what do you want? What's the endgame here? Linda reached into her purse and pulled out a second envelope, thinner, handwritten. She slid it onto the table beside the legal letter. I'm offering one option, she said quietly. I'll waive every cent of that claim, all of it. Erica's head snapped up. What's the catch? Release my portion of the home's equity, Linda said. The part your father left when he and I bought into this place. I know exactly how much it's worth now. Erica's voice was a whisper of disbelief. You wouldn't dare. Linda met her eyes with that calm, unflinching steadiness that had begun to haunt her daughter-in-law's dreams. I dare everything now. Erica's lip trembled. You're blackmailing us. I'm setting terms, Linda corrected. Same thing you've done for a year, only I'm writing mine in ink. Tyler stared at the paper, torn between guilt and realization. You're serious? Very, Linda said. You both have 7 days. If you sign, I'll walk away quietly. With dignity, not debt. If you don't, I'll let the mediation run its course. Erica's voice broke. You'd destroy your family over this? Linda's gaze softened. No, I'm saving what's left of it. For a moment, the kitchen was silent again, sunlight flickering through the blinds, cutting stripes of shadow across the counter. Tyler sat down heavily, staring at the 2 envelopes like they were grenades with the pins already pulled. Erica pressed both palms to the counter, trembling. You can't win this. Linda turned toward the door. I already did. I just haven't collected yet. The movers came on a Tuesday morning under a sky so blue it felt like a fresh start. Linda watched from the sidewalk as 2 pantry volunteers, college kids who called her Miss Linda with easy warmth, carried her boxes up the narrow stairs of her new downtown condo. The place wasn't large, but sunlight poured through the tall windows, bouncing off the clean white walls. The air smelled faintly of fresh paint and the bakery next door. For the first time in years, Linda could open a door without hearing someone sigh. Kitchen boxes go in there, she said, pointing. Careful with the crock pot. That one's seen more life than both of you put together." They laughed, and she smiled back. By noon, everything she owned, everything that mattered, was in the apartment. No shelves labeled with tape. No fridge divided into territories. Just her space. Her peace. That weekend, Becca was the first visitor. She burst through the door, backpack bouncing, hair in a messy braid. "Grandma, this place smells like cookies already." "That's because I baked some," Linda said, crouching to hug her tight. "You know the rule. Grandma dinner night requires dessert." Becca wrinkled her nose playfully. "Does that mean we're having chili again?" "Of course," Linda said. "Tradition's tradition." They spent the afternoon cooking side by side, Becca stirring the pot while Linda chopped onions and pretended not to cry. The kitchen filled with warmth and laughter, the air heavy with the scent of cumin and tomatoes. Later, they ate by the window, watching cars drift below and lights flicker across the Boise River. "I like it here," Becca said softly. "It's quiet." Linda smiled. "That's the best part." After dinner, Becca curled up on the couch under a quilt, half asleep as Linda tucked her in. For a long while she sat there, listening to her granddaughter's breathing and thinking about how silence could feel full, not empty. The next day, Noel showed up at her door holding a brown paper bag and a grin. "Church was a riot without you bossing us around," she said. "We burned the cornbread, twice." Linda laughed. "That's what happens when you let amateurs near an oven." "Well, we're making it up to you," Noel said. "You're coming Sunday. Don't argue." Sunday turned into more than a potluck. It was a surprise lunch in the church hall. Long tables lined with casseroles, cakes, and a banner above the altar that read, "Thank you, Linda, for feeding more than stomachs." When she walked in, everyone stood and clapped. For once, Linda didn't wave them off or insist someone else take the credit. She let it wash over her like a warm tide. Noel hugged her tight. "You taught them patience and good food. That's a ministry, honey." Linda chuckled. "I just followed recipes." "Yeah," Noel said, "but you wrote a new one too." A week later, Maya dropped by the condo with her daughter and a bouquet of lilies. "They're from our office," Maya said. "But these?" She handed Linda an envelope. "These are from me." Linda opened it. Inside was a card with a single line written in Maya's crisp handwriting. "Justice is just another word for balance restored." Linda looked up, eyes soft. "You're good at your job, Maya." Maya smiled. "So are you. You turned every act of quiet endurance into evidence. And you did it with grace." They shared tea by the window, the city humming below. When Maya left, Linda placed the lilies in a tall glass vase beside the kitchen counter, a reminder that beauty could bloom again, even in smaller soil. That evening, Linda stood before her brand new refrigerator, stainless steel, humming softly, untouched. She pulled out a black marker, hesitated, then wrote across the top shelf in bold letters, "No shared shelf." She stepped back, studied it, then laughed aloud, the sound filling the apartment. "Old habits die organized," she murmured. 2 days later, as twilight settled over downtown, Linda was watering her balcony plants when a familiar car slowed on the street below, Erica's SUV. It idled for a moment, her silhouette visible through the windshield. She didn't get out, just stared up, as if searching for something in the glow of the condo lights. Linda froze, then gently set down the watering can. Their eyes met for half a second through glass and distance. Then Linda turned back to her plants. No wave, no acknowledgement, just peace. The sun over Boise was warm and steady that morning, the kind that felt like forgiveness. Linda stood at her kitchen counter, sleeves rolled, whisk in hand, measuring sugar with the precision of someone who'd learned that every ounce mattered. Becca sat on a stool beside her, tapping a spoon against an empty mixing bowl. Grandma, tell me again why we're making your cake. Because, Linda said, smiling, every birthday deserves something made with your own hands, especially when it's your 67th. Becca grinned. And because yours is better than any bakery's. Exactly. They mixed in rhythm: cocoa, flour, eggs, oil, the familiar hum of the hand mixer filling the small condo. The scent of chocolate began to rise, rich and nostalgic. Becca leaned close to the bowl, eyes wide. It smells like your old house, she said softly. Linda's movements slowed. No, she said, scraping the batter into pans. It smells like home. By mid-afternoon, the condo buzzed with life. Church friends, pantry volunteers, and familiar faces from the community center crowded the open kitchen and balcony, holding cups of lemonade and paper plates of chili and cornbread. The air was full of laughter. Real laughter, not the brittle kind that echoed in her old kitchen. Noel was already telling the story of the infamous pantry chili to a group of volunteers, waving a spoon like a baton. She had the nerve to say it was just beans and tomatoes. Meanwhile, we were watching grown men line up for thirds. Linda chuckled from across the room. I believe in feeding souls, not egos, she said, wiping her hands on a towel. Noel raised her cup. Well, honey, you fed both. The group clinked their drinks and cheered. When Maya arrived, she came bearing lilies again, and a small envelope tucked under the ribbon. Don't tell me this is another legal notice, Linda teased. Maya laughed. No lawsuits this time. This one's good news. Inside, Linda found a letter embossed with the seal of the Idaho Senior Advocacy Council. We would be honored if Ms. Linda Carson would speak at our annual conference on the topic of domestic equity and the unseen value of caregiving. Linda looked up, surprised. They want me to speak? You're a case study now, Maya said. The Quiet Revolution. A woman who turned boundaries into a blueprint. Linda laughed softly. I just told the truth on paper. That's what revolution looks like, Maya said, touching her arm, and it's overdue. The smell of baking filled the condo again, that deep, sweet perfume of cocoa and buttercream frosting. Becca darted between guests, giggling, delivering napkins and hugs with equal enthusiasm. Grandma, she called, they're singing without you. Linda joined the crowd around the counter, where the triple-layer cake sat on its stand, glossy and perfect, frosting glimmering in the afternoon light. Someone had placed a single candle at the center, flickering gently. Maya clapped her hands. Make a wish, birthday girl. Linda hesitated. For a moment, she saw every kitchen she'd ever worked in, every meal served quietly, every kindness swallowed. Then she looked at the faces around her, the life rebuilt from that silence. She blew out the candle. The room erupted in applause. An hour later, after the cake was cut and the laughter settled into the warm rhythm of old stories, there was a knock on the door. Tyler stood there, awkward in his pressed shirt, holding a small bouquet of daisies. Hi, Mom. Linda smiled, guarded but kind. Come in, Tyler. He stepped inside, glancing around at the crowd. I didn't want to interrupt. I just wanted to see you and to say congratulations. On what? She asked. On peace? He said quietly. She studied him, the exhaustion still there, but softer now, humbled. Thank you, son. I'm glad you came. He hesitated. Becca wanted to bring something from home. He gestured toward the doorway. Becca appeared, holding a folded card. On the front, she'd drawn a heart and a slice of cake. Linda took it, smiling through tears. Thank you, sweetheart. As Becca ran off to play, Tyler lingered. Erica wanted to come too, he said after a pause. Linda's smile didn't waver. I'm sure she did. He swallowed. I told her it wasn't her day. Linda touched his arm gently. Good. Let her have her own someday. He nodded, eyes wet, and joined the others at the table. As evening settled, the guests trickled out one by one, leaving the condo glowing with the last amber light of sunset. Linda stood at the sink washing plates while Becca hummed beside her. Grandma? Yes, dear. Becca looked up, frosting smudged on her cheek. This is what a real birthday feels like. Linda turned off the water, her eyes soft. It sure is, honey. When everyone was gone, Linda sat by the window, a small slice of her own cake on the plate before her. She took a bite. Sweet, balanced, perfect. She thought of the first time she'd baked it, of the labels, the whispered insults, the basement fridge. She thought of the night Erica had begged for her cake and how power had quietly changed hands. A smile tugged at her lips. She whispered into the quiet room, part truth, part triumph, part prayer. My DIL said, "From now on you'll eat from your own groceries." But on her birthday, she begged me. And outside, the city lights shimmered like candles that never went out.